exercise is generally good for the heart, but there are certain variables that makes it surprisingly quite bad. So in this video, we're gonna talk about the 3 worst exercises for your heart. Coming right up. So hey y'all, Aman here, and you're watching Heart Limits, a channel that talks about everything heart related. Now when we get into the worst exercises for the heart, the one that's at the top of the list, or you would say number 1, is actually excessive endurance exercise or excessive endurance training. Now most of the time, endurance training is supposed to be good. You know what falls under here is jogging, running, you have swimming, you have rowing, and you even have this elliptical bike thing in the gym. Now, supposedly it's good, but the problem is when you go online, they don't really emphasize and highlight on the fact it's only in small amounts. It's when you go beyond that hour, what actually happens is your body suffers a level of inflammation. And as a result, your heart does so as well. What happens is your heart, there is actually some amount of damage that happens to it post-training, and it increases your chances for cardiovascular events, even though supposedly it's supposed to get lowered if you do just a bit. So if ever you do plan on joining a marathon, be very, very careful to pace yourself. And if ever you have a heart condition, try your best to just stay away from it altogether. To be honest, given that I myself have a heart condition, the doctor really emphasized and really told me, you are not allowed to participate in any marathon whatsoever. So keep that in mind, that's number 1. Now, when we go to number 2, it's actually something that's quite interesting. It's actually random exercise. Now, when you get into, thinking, what the hell is random exercise? Is it doing an exercise without knowing how to do it? Or is it just jumping into something that you wouldn't normally do? Well, to be honest, it's both. So let's say, just for today, you and your partner or your friends are like, hey, let's climb this mountain. You haven't trained for it, you haven't, done the regimen to prepare yourself for it, and you just say, yes, let's go. Now, of course, it's bad to be a killjoy, but there are times where your body and your heart is actually not prepared for that pressure of doing all those things to, to climb that mountain. So if ever you do plan on doing, these random acts of sportive, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be sportive since it could be an adventurous event technically, right? So you have to be careful, right? And also some people, they watch lots of videos, they just go to a gym without actually knowing how to use some devices. Sometimes, a machine that's meant to be used this way, they start doing it this way. So of course, that just doesn't make sense. But of course, those people are not aware. Usually they're quite innocent, but they're like, I want to lose weight, so I just want to go to the gym. I'm too ashamed to ask people on what I'm supposed to do. But, if you don't know how to use a particular machine, it actually also puts some abnormal strain to your body and to your heart, and would also result to dangerous events. So be careful, alright? So that's number 2. Now, number 3 is actually training in extreme temperatures, and this applies to the cold and the hot. Let's say, you have this routine that you jog every day. If it's too cold outside and you just want to jog, it's true your body might feel warm even though it's cold outside. But the problem is there is technically an effect of the weather to your body. So if possible, try to train in environments which are more favorable to you. There's even this thing, like let's say if we go to hot weather, right? There's this yoga in a hot room. There's a name for it, I don't really remember. But to be honest, it's really, really bad because what happens is your body cannot keep up with the temperature, and to the point you even have a problem breathing properly, even though it's supposed to be a relaxing type of exercise. So keep that in mind, alright? So as a bonus, now this is not really an exercise, it's more of a sport, but actually squash, you know that sport, it's like tennis, it's not really like tennis, because you're in an enclosed room, you have this like a small tennis racket and this black rubber ball. You hit to a wall, make it bounce, and then it hits again, and yeah, there's a point system and everything. So this is actually found to be the best sport for people who have no heart conditions, to be honest. But if you have a heart condition, it's actually one of the sports that a doctor would really say to stay away from. The body cannot keep up with the amount of, actually to be honest, you burn quite a lot of calories doing this sport. So if you want to lose weight, it's quite good, but make sure your heart and your body is technically trained to get into it. Because if you're not, whoo, it's gonna be really bad and it's gonna be really, really dangerous for you in the long term, in the short term, and maybe on that moment you might just collapse and faint because of the, the intensity of the sport. All right. So once again, Aman here, and you're watching Heart Limits. So as a simple thought, try your best to work out or exercise in environments which are more favorable. Make sure that you don't just get into random exercise, and also don't overexert, push yourself too much to the limit. You actually get less than more. Alright? So, once again, see ya.